Hello and welcome to this continuation of the second look exploring session looking at the wounds of civil war. Today we are looking at the second half of Thomas Lodge's play, Acts 4 and 5, and we're doing this at pace. We've already done a first look exploring session where we stopped and started quite a lot, and we had a number of questions about how the play functions at pace, so that's what we're sort of trying to solve, or at least get a closer idea about how this play flows, doing it at a reasonable speed. We did the first half last week at speed. We're doing this half at speed. We're not doing a more full digital performance with cameras switching on and off. We may pop it. Some of us may pop in and out. But the doubling is a bit tight in places, so it's not quite practical to do that for this run. But maybe further down the line we'll be able to do that because we have enjoyed the play so far. But I'm sure chaos will reign in an engaging and interesting and useful way. Reading today, Marius, Carbo and Curtall is...
Helen Good, a historian in Hull.
Reading young Marius and Norbanus is...
Hello, I'm Valentina. I am an Italian actor and voiceover artist in London.
And on the other team, having regenerated from a different form last time, reading second soldier Sylla and Tuditanus is...
Liza Graham. Come back, Brian. All is forgiven.
Reading Anthony and Poppey is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a college composition teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Of course, that could be Poppey, but I don't know until I see how it scans. Reading Cinna and First Soldier and Genius is...
Hello, Dan, actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading Lepidus and a Captain is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I thought you said cat for a second there, and I was very excited.
Well, a cat may appear at any moment, most likely from Octavius and Cornelia, who is being read by...
Rachael Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
Reading Pausanius, Fulvia and Metellus is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author based in Romford.
Reading Lectorius, Carinna and the multitude of citizens is...
Hi, Alan Scott, neither an actor nor an academic, based in Suffolk.
Reading Messenger, a third soldier, Pompey and Favorinus is...
Hello, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading Lucretius, Clown, and I'm also going to be reading Flaccus, which is unfortunate because Flaccus and Lucretius overlap to some degree in the text. So some points I may occasionally be addressed to as Flaccus, and I may occasionally make a triumphal entry while I'm already on. Hopefully it won't be too confusing. They are at least on the same side in the Civil War. Anyone wearing red, hopefully, is all following Sylla, whereas blue are the Marius faction, though of course it may differ depending on who remembered what colour we were from last week, because I forgot and I had to ask Eric because he remembers these things. So that without further ado, we're going to dive straight into Act 4, and we're not going to come up for air until we come to the end of the play. So take it away, the various peoples in Act 4, Scene 1.
What helps my lords to overhail these cares? What means or motions may these mischiefs end? You see how Cinna that should succor Rome hath levied arms to bring a traitor in. O worthless traitor, woe to thine and thee, that thou disquieteth both Rome and us.
Octavius, these are scourges for our sins. These are but ministers to heap our plague. These mutinies are gentle means and ways, whereby the heavens our heavy errors charm. Then with content and humbled eyes behold the crystal shining globe of glorious Jove. And since we perish through our own misdeeds, go, let us flourish in our fruitful prayers.
Midst these confusions, mighty men of Rome, why waste ye out these troubles all in words? Reap not your harms, but when we straight to arms, lo, Ostia spoiled see Marius at our gate, and shall we die like milksops, dreaming thus?
Bootless war to see our country spoiled.
Fruitless is dalliance, whereas dangerous be.
My lord, may courage wait on conquered men?
Aye, even in death most courage doth appear.
Then waiting death, I mean to seat me here, hoping that consul's name and fear of laws shall justify my conscience and my cause. Now, sirrah, what confused looks are these? What tidings bringest thou of dreariment?
My lords, the consul Cinna with his friends have led Marius by via Appia, whose soldiers waste to murder all they meet, who with the consul and his other friends with expedition hasteth to this place.
Then to the downfall of my happiness, then to the ruin of this city Rome. But if my inward ruth were laid in sight, my streams of tears should drown my foes' despite.
Courage, Lord Anthony, if fortune please. She will and can these troubles soon appease. But if her backward frowns approach us nigh, resolve with us with honor for to die.
No storm of fate shall bring my sorrows down, but if that fortune list, why let her frown?
Where states oppressed cruel tyrants be, old Anthony, there is no place for thee. Hark! By this thundering noise of threatening drums, Marius with all his faction hither comes.
Then like a traitor he shall know ere long, in levying arms he doth his country wrong.
And have we got the goal of honour now, and in despite of consuls entered Rome? Then rouse thee, Marius, lead thy ruthful thoughts, and for thy many cares and toils sustained, afflict thy foes with quite as many pains. Go, soldiers, seek out Bebius and his friends, Attulius, Munitorius with the rest, cut off their heads, for they did cross me once. And if your care can compass my decree, remember that same fugitive, Mark Antony, whose fateful end shall be my fruitful peace. I tell thee, Cinna, nature armeth beasts with just revenge, and lendeth in their kind sufficient warlike weapons of defence. If then by nature beasts revenge their wrong, both heavens and nature grant me vengeance now. Yet whilst I live and suck this subtle air that lendeth breathing coolness to my lights, the register of all thy righteous acts, thy pains, thy toils, thy travails for my sake shall dwell by kind impressions in my heart. And I with links of true and unfeigned love will lock these Roman favourites in my breast and live to hazard life for their relief.
My lord, your safe and swift return to Rome makes Cinna fortunate and well apaid, who through the false suggestions of my foes was made a coffer of a council here. Lo, where he sits, commanding in his throne that wronged Marius, me, and all these lords.
To quiet his love, Cinna, let me alone. How fare these lords that lumping, pouting, proud, imagine now to quell me with their looks? Now welcome, sirs, is Marius' thought so base? Why stand you looking babies in my face? Who welcomes me, him Marius makes his friend. Who lowers me, him Marius means to end.
Happy and fortunate thy return to Rome.
And long live Marius with fame in Rome.
I thank you, courteous lords that are so kind.
Why endure your grace that braving maid to sit and face us in his robes of state?
My son, he is a consul at the least, and gravity becomes Octavius best. But Cinna, would in yonder empty seat you would for Marius' freedom once entreat?
Avaunt, thou traitor, proud and insolent. How darest thou press near civil government?
Why, Master Consul, are you grown so hot? I'll have a present cooling card for you. Be therefore well advised and move me not. For though by you I was exiled from Rome and in the desert from a prince's seat, left to bewail ingratitudes of Rome. Though I have known your thirsty throats have longed to bathe themselves in my distilling blood, yet Marius, sirs, hath pity joined with power. Lo, here, the imperial ensign which I wield, that waveth mercy to my wishes well, and more. See here, the dangerous throat of war, and at the point is steeled with ghastly death.
Thou, exile, threatenest thou a council then? Lictors, go draw him hence. Such braving mates are not to boast their arms in quiet states.
Go draw me hence. What? No relent, Octavius?
My lord, what heart indurate with revenge could leave this lozel threatening murder thus? Vouchsafe me leave to taint this traitor's seat with flowing streams of his contagious blood.
The father's son, I know him by his talk, that scolds in words when fingers cannot walk. But Jove, I hope, will one day send to Rome the blessed patron of this monarchy, who will revenge injustice by his sword.
Such braving hopes, such cursed arguments, so strict commands, so arrogant controls. Suffer me, Marius, the am counsel now, to do thee justice and confound the wretch.
Cinna, you know I am a private man, that still submit my censures to your will.
Then, soldiers, draw this traitor from the throne and let him die, for Cinna wills it so.
By now, my Cinna noble counsel speaks. Octavius, your cheeks shall cost you dear.
Then let me die, for Cinna wills it so. Is then the reverence of this robe contemned? Are these associates of so small regard? Why then, Octavius willingly consents to entertain the sentence of his death, but let the proudest traitor work his will. I fear no strokes, but here will sit me still. Since justice sleeps, since tyrants reign in Rome, Octavius longs for death to die in Rome.
And strike him where he sits, then hale him hence.
Heavens punish Cinna's pride for thy offense.
Now is he fallen that threatened Marius. Now will I sit and plead for Marius.
Thou dost me justice, Cinna, for you see, these peers of Rome of late exiled me.
Your lordship doth injustice to accuse those who in your behalf did not offend.
We grieve to see the aged Marius stand like a private man in view of Rome.
And bid him sit, and lo an empty place, revoke his exile, firm his government, and to prevent your farther detriment.
We will account both Marius and his friends, his son and his followers. And since we see the dangerous times at hand and hear of Sylla's confidence and haste, and know his hate and rancor to these lords, we him create for a consul to prevent the policies of Sylla and his friends.
Then, both confirmed by state and full consent, the rods and axe to Marius I present, and here invest thee with the consul's paw.
Long, fortunate, and happy life betime old Marius in his sevenfold consulship.
And so let Marius live and govern Rome, as cursed Sylla never look on Rome.
Then, placed in consul's throne, you Roman states, recalled from banishment by your decrees, installed in this imperial seat to rule, old Marius thanks his friends and favourites, from whom this final favour he requires. That seeing Sylla by his murderous blade brought fierce sedition first to head in Rome, and forced laws to banish innocents, I crave, by course of reason and desert, that he may be proclaimed, as erst was I, a traitor and an enemy of Rome. Let all his friends be banished out of town. Then, cutting off the branch where troubles spring, Rome shall have peace and plenty in her walls.
Inequity, it needs must be, my friends, that one be guilty of our common harms. And since that Marius is accounted free, Sylla with all his friends must traitors be.
My father's reasons, Romans, are of force. For if you see and live not to secure, you know that in so great a state as this, two mighty foes can never well agree.
Then let us seek to please our consul first, and then prepare to keep the exile out. Cinna, as Marius and these lords agree, firm this edict and let it pass for me.
Then Romans, in the name of all this state, I here proclaim and publish this decree, that Sylla, with his friends, allies and all, are banished exiles, traitors unto Rome, and to extinguish both his name and state, we will his house be razed to the ground, his goods confiscate. This our censures is. Lictor, proclaim this in the marketplace, and see it executed out of hand.
Now see I, senators, the thought, the care, the virtuous zeal that leads your toward minds to love your friends and watch your common good. And now, established consul in this place, old Marius will foresee advenient harms. Sylla, the scourge of Asia, as we hear, is pressed to enter Italy with sword. He comes in pomp to triumph here in Rome. But senators, you know the wavering wills of foolish men, I mean the common sort, who through report of innovations, of flattering humours, of well-tempered tongues, will change and draw a second mischief on. I like your care, and will myself apply to aim and level at my country's weal, to intercept these errors by advice. My son, young Marius, Cethegus, and my friends shall to preneste to prevent and stop the speedy purpose of our forward foe. Meanwhile, ourselves will fortify this town, this beauty of the world, this maiden town, where steaming Tigris with a pleasant tide leads out the stately buildings of the world. Marius, my hope, my son, you know your charge. Take those Iberian legions in your train, and we will spare some Cimbrians to your use. Remember, thou art Marius' son, and dream on naught but honour and a happy death.
I go, my lord, in hope to make the world report my service and my duty too, and that proud challenger of Asia shall find that Marius' son hath force and wit.
Go thou, as fortunate as Greeks to Troy, as glorious as Alcides in thy toils, as happy as Sertorius in thy fight, as valiant as Achilles in thy might. Go glorious, valiant, happy, fortunate, as all those Greeks and him of Roman state.
Traitors, why drag you thus a prince's wife, as if that beauty were a thrall to fate? Are Romans grown more barbarous than Greeks, that hate more greater than Cassandra now? The Macedonian monarch was more kind, that honored and relieved in warlike camp Darius' mother, daughters, and his wife. But you unkind Romans, you unkind to Roman ladies now, perhaps as constant as the ancient queens, for they, subdued, had friendship and disgrace, where we, unconquered, live in woeful case.
What plaintive pleas presents that lady there? Why, soldiers, make you prisoners here in Rome?
Dread counsels, we have found Cornelia here, and Sylla's daughter posting out of town.
Ladies of worth, both beautiful and wise, but near allied unto my greatest foe. Yet Marius mine, that never meant disgrace, more likes their courage than their comely face. Are you Cornelia, madam, Sylla's wife?
I am Cornelia, Sylla's wife. What then?
And this is Fulvia, Sylla's daughter too.
And this is Fulvia, Sylla's daughter too.
Two welcome guests, in whom the majesty of my conceit and courage must consist. What think you, senators and countrymen? See, here are two, the fairest stars of Rome, the dearest dainties of my warlike foe, whose lives upon your censures do subsist.
Dread consul, the continuance of their lives shall egg on Sylla to a greater haste, and in bereaving of their vital breath, your grace shall force more fury from your foe. Of these extremes, we leave the choice to you.
Then think that some strange fortune shall ensue.
Poor Fulvia, now thy happy days are done. Instead of marriage pomp, the fatal lights of funerals must mask about thy bed. Nor shall thy father's arms with kind embrace hem in thy shoulders, trembling now for fear. I see in Marius's looks such tragedies as fear my heart and fountains fill my eyes.
Ay, Fulvia, shall thy father's daughter faint before the threats of danger shall approach? Dry up those tears and like a Roman maid, be bold and silent till our foe have said.
Cornelia, wife unto my traitor foe, what gadding mood hath forced thy speedy flight to leave thy country and forsake thy friends?
Accursed Marius, offspring of my pains, whose furious wrath hath wrought thy country's woe. What may remain for me or mine in Rome, that see the tokens of thy tyrannies? Vile monster, robbed of virtue, what revenge is this, to wreak thine anger on the walls, to raise our house, to banish all our friends, to kill the rest, and captive us at last? Thinkest thou by barbarous deeds to boast thy state, or spoiling Sylla to depress his hate? No, Marius, but for every drop of blood, an inch of wrong, he shall return thee too.
Madam, in danger wisdom doth advise in humble terms to reconcile our foes.
She is a woman, Flaccus. Let her talk, that breathes forth bitter words instead of blows.
And in regard of that immodest man, thou shouldst desist from outrage and revenge.
What, can your grace endure these cursed scoffs?
Why, my Lectorius, I have ever learnt that ladies cannot wrong me with upbraids. Then let her talk, and my concealed hate shall heap revengement upon Sylla's pate.
Let fevers first afflict thy feeble age. Let palsies make thy stubborn fingers faint. Let humours streaming from thy moistened brains, with clouds of dimness choke thy fretful eyes, before these monstrous harms assail my sire.
By Lady Fulvia, you are gaily read. Your mother may well boast you for her own, for both of you have words and scoffs at will. And since I like the compass of your wit, myself will stand, and ladies, you shall sit. And if you please to wade in further words, let's see what brawls your memories affords.
Your lordship's passing mannerly in jest, but that you may perceive we smell your drift. We both will sit and countenance your shift.
Where constancy and beauty do consort, there ladies' threatenings turn to merry sport. How fare these, beautiful? What, well at ease?
As ready as at first for to displease. For, full confirmed that we shall surely die, we wait our ends with Roman constancy.
Why, think you Marius hath confirmed your death?
What other fruit may spring from tyrants' hands?
In faith then, ladies, thus the matter stands. Since you mistake my love and courtesy, prepare yourselves, for you shall surely die.
Ay, Marius, now I know thou dost not lie. and that thou mayest, unto thy lasting blame, extinguish in our deaths thy wished fame, grant us this boon that, making choice of death, we may be freed from fury of thine ire.
An easy boon, ladies, I condescend.
Then succor us in private chamber close to meditate a day or two alone, and, tyrant, if thou find us living then, commit us straight unto thy slaughtering men.
Ladies, I grant, for Marius nil deny a suit so easy and of such import. For pity 'twere that dames of constancy should not be agents of their misery. Lectorius, hark, dispatch.
So, Fulvia, now the latest doom is fixed, and naught remains but constant Roman hearts, to bear the brunt of irksome fury's spite. Rouse thee, my dear, and daunt those faint conceits that trembling stand aghast at bitter death. Bethink thee now that Sylla was thy sire, whose courage heaven nor fortune could abate. Then, like the offspring of fierce Sylla's house, pass with the thrice renowned Phrygian dam, as to thy marriage, so unto thy death. For naught to wretches is more sweet than death.
Madam, confirmed as well to die as live, Fulvia awaited nothing but her death. Yet had my father known the course of change, or seen our loss by lucky augury, this tyrant nor his followers had lived, to joy the ruin of fierce Sylla's house.
But lady, they that dwell on fortune's call no sooner rise, but subject are to fall.
Marius, I doubt not but our constant ends shall make thee wail thy tyrant's government.
When tyrants' rule doth breed my care and woe, then will I say, two ladies told me so. But here comes Lectorius. Now, my lord, have you brought those things?
Have, noble consul.
No, ladies, you are resolute to die.
Aye, Marius, for terror cannot daunt us. Tortures were framed to dread the baser eye, and not to appel a princely majesty.
And Marius lives to triumph o'er his foes, that train their warlike troops amidst the plains, and are enclosed and hemmed with shining arms, not to appall such princely majesty. Virtue, sweet ladies, is of more regard in Marius' mind, where honour is enthroned, than Rome or rule of Roman empery. The bands that should combine your snow-white wrists are these which shall adorn your milk-white necks. The private cells where you shall end your lives is Italy, is Europe, nay, the world, the Euxinian Sea, the fierce Sicilian Gulf, the river Ganges and the Hydaspes stream shall level lie and smooth as crystal ice, while Fulvia and Cornelia pass thereon. The soldiers that should guard you to your death shall be 5,000 gallant youths of Rome, in purple robes cross-barred with pales of gold, mounted on warlike coursers for the field, fed from the mountain tops of Corsica, or bred in hills of bright Sardinia, who shall conduct and bring you to your lord. Aye, unto Sylla, ladies, shall you go, and tell him, Marius holds within his hand honour for ladies, rich reward. But as for Sylla and for his compeers who dare against Marius vaunt their golden crests, tell them, for them old Marius holds revenge, and in his hands both triumphs, life and death.
Doth Marius use with glorious words to jest, and mock his captives with these glossing terms?
No, ladies, Marius hath sought for honour with his sword, and holds disdain to triumph at your falls. Live, Cornelia, live, fair and fairest Fulvia. If you have done or wrought me injury, Sylla shall pay it through his misery.
So gracious, famous consul are thy words, that Rome and we shall celebrate thy worth, and Sylla shall confess himself overcome.
If ladies' prayers or tears may move the heavens, Sylla shall vow himself old Marius' friend.
Ladies, for that I naught at all regard. Sylla's my foe, I'll triumph over him. For other conquest glory doth not win. Therefore come on, that I may send you unto Sylla.
Sirrah, dally not with us. You know where he is.
Oh, sir, a quart is a quart in any man's purse, and drink is drink, and can my master live without his drink, I pray?
You have a master then, Sirrah.
Have I a master, thou scoundrel? I have an orator to my master, a wise man to my master, but fellows, I must make a parenthesis of this pint pot, for words make men dry. Now, by my troth, I drink to Lord Anthony.
Fellow soldiers, the weakness of his brain hath made his tongue walk largely. We shall have some novelties by and by.
O most surpassing wine, thou marrow of the vine, more welcome unto me than whips to scholars be. Ah, thou art and ever was a means to mend an ass. Thou makest some to sleep, and many mo to weep, and some be glad and merry with hey down dairy dairy. Thou makest some to stumble, and many mo to fumble, and me a pinky nine, more brave than jolly wine. What need I praise thee mo, for thou art good with hey-ho.
If wine then be so good, I prithee, for thy part, tell us where Lord Antony is, and thou shalt have a quart.
Oh, first shall the snow be black, and pepper lose his smack, and stripes forsake my back. First, merry drunk with sack, I will go boast and track, and all your costards crack, before I do the knack shall make me sing alack. Alack, the old man is weary, for wine have made him merry with hey-ho.
I prithee, leave these rhymes and tell us where thy master is.
Oh, faith, where you shall not be, unless you go with me. But shall I tell them so? Oh, no, sir, no, no, no. The man hath many a foe, as far as I do know. You do not flout me, I hope. See how this liquor fumes, and how my force presumes. You would know where Lord Anthony is. I perceive you. Shall I say he is in yond farmhouse? I deceive you. Shall I tell you this wine is for him, the gods forfend, and so I end. Go, fellow fighters, there's a bob for ye.
My masters, let us follow this clown, for questionless this grave orator is in yonder farmhouse. But who cometh yonder?
I wonder why my peasant stays so long, and with my wonder hasteneth on my woe, and with my woe I am assailed with fear, and with my fear await, with faintful breath, the final period of my pains by death.
Dawn's the man we seek for, soldiers. Unsheath your swords and make a riddance of Marius's ancient enemy.
Master, fly, fly, or else you should die. Oh, a plague on this wine hath made me so fine, and will you not be gone? And I'll leave you alone and sleep upon your woe with a lamentable hey-ho.
Betrayed at last by witless oversight. Now, Anthony, prepare thyself to die. Lo, where the monstrous ministers of wrath menace thy murder with their naked swords.
Antony, well met. The council Marius, with other confederate senators, hath adjudged thee death. Therefore prepare thyself, and think we favour thee in this little protraction.
Immortal powers that know the painful cares that wait upon my poor distressed heart, oh, bend your brows and level all your looks of dreadful awe upon these daring men. And thou, sweet niece of Atlas, on whose lips and tender tongue the pliant muses sit, let gentle courses sweet aspiring speech, let honey-flowing terms of weary woe, let fruitful figures and delightful lines enforce a spring of pity from their eyes, amaze the murderous passions of their minds, that they may favor woeful Anthony. O countrymen, what shall become of Rome when reverend duty droopeth through disgrace? O countrymen, what shall become of Rome when woeful nature, widow of her joys, weeps on our walls to see her laws depressed? O Romans, hath not Anthony's discourse sealed up the mouths of false, seditious men, assoiled the doubts and quaint controls of power, relieved the mournful matron with his pleas? And will you seek to murder Anthony? The lions brook with kindness their relief. The sheep reward the shepherd with their fleece. Yet Romans, seek not to murder Anthony.
Why, what enchanting terms of art are these that force my heart to pity his distress?
His action, speech, his favour, and his grace, my rancour, rage, and rigour doth deface.
So sweet his words, that now of late meseems his art doth draw my soul from out my lips.
What envious eyes reflecting naught but rage, what barbarous heart refreshed with naught but blood, that rends not to behold the senseless tree in doly season dropping without leaves? The shepherd sighs upon a barren hill to see his bleating lambs with faintful looks behold the valley robbed of springing flowers, that will whom want to yield them yearly food. Even meanest things exchanged from former state, the virtuous mind with some remorse doth mate. Can then your eyes, with thundering threats of rage, cast furious gleams of anger upon age? Can then your hearts with furies mount so high as they should harm the Roman Anthony? Aye, far more kind than senseless tree, have lent a kindly sap to our declining state, and like a careful shepherd have foreseen the heavy dangers of this city Rome, and made the citizens the happy flock whom I have fed with counsels and advice. But now those locks that for the reverend white surpassed the down on Asclepius's chin, but now the tongue, whose terms and fluent style for number past the host of heavenly fires, now the head, within whose subtle brains the queen of flowing eloquence did dwell. These locks, this tongue, this head, this life and all, to please a tyrant, traitorously must fall.
Why, how now, soldiers? Is he living yet? And will you be bewitched with his words? Then take this fear orator from me. Elysium best beseems thy faintful limbs.
Oh, blissful pains! Now Anthony must die, which served and loved Rome and her empery.
Go, Curtall off that neck with present stroke, and straight present it unto Marius.
Even in this head did all the muses dwell. The bees that sate upon the Grecian's lips distilled their honey on his tempered tongue.
The crystal dew of fair Castalian springs with gentle floatings trickled on his brains. The Graces kissed his kind and courteous brows. Apollo gave the beauties of his harp and melodies unto his pliant speech.
Leave this presumptuous praises, countrymen, and see Lectorius pensive where he comes. Lo, here, my lord, the head of Antony. See here the guerdon fit for Marius' foe, whom dread Apollo prosper in his rule.
O Romans, Marius sleeps among the dead, and Rome laments the loss of such a friend.
A sudden and woeful chance, my lord, which we intend to fain would understand.
Though swollen with sighs, my heart for sorrow burst, and tongue with tears and plaints be choked up. Yet will I furrow forth with forced breath a speedy passage to my pensive speech. Our consul Marius, worthy soldiers, of late within a pleasant plot of ground, sat down for pleasure near a crystal spring, accompanied with many lords of Rome. Bright was the day, and on the spreading trees the frolic citizens of forest sung their lays and merry notes on perching boughs, when suddenly appeared in the east 7 mighty eagles with their talons fierce, who waving oft about our consul's head, at last with hideous cry did soar away, when suddenly old Marius aghast, with reverend smile, determined with a sigh the doubtful silence of the standers by. Romans, said he, old Marius now must die. These 7 fair eagles, birds of mighty Jove, that on my birthday on my cradle sat, now at my last day warn me to my death. And lo, I feel the deadly pangs approach. What should I more? In brief, with many prayers for Rome, his son, his goods and lands disposed, our worthy consul to our wonder died. The city is amazed, for Sylla hastes to enter Rome with fury, sword and fire. Go, place that head upon the Capitol, and to your wards, for dangers are at hand.
Had we foreseen this luckless chance before, old Antony had lived and breathed yet.
Now, Romans, after all these mutinies, seditions, murders, and conspiracies, imagine, with impartial hearts at last, what fruits proceed from these contentious brawls. Your streets, where erst the fathers of your state in robes of purple walked up and down, are strewed with mangled members streaming blood. And why? The reasons of this ruthful rack are your seditious innovations, your fickle minds inclined to foolish change. Ungrateful men, whilst I with tedious pain in Asia sealed my duty with my blood, making the fierce Dardanians faint for fear, spreading my colours in Galatia, dipping my sword in the Anetans' blood, and foraging the fields of Phocida. You called my foe from exile with his friends. You did proclaim me traitor here in Rome. You razed my house, you did defame my friends. Ha! But brawling wolves, you cannot bite the moon, for Sylla lives, so forward to revenge, as woe to those that sought to do me wrong. I now am entered Rome in spite of force, and will so hamper all my cursed foes, as be he tribune, consul, lord, or knight that hateth Sylla, let him look to die. And first to make an entrance to mine ire, bring me that traitor Carbo out of hand.
O Sylla, in revenging injuries, inflict the pain where first offence did spring, and for my sake, establish peace in Rome, and pardon these repentant citizens.
Pompey, I love thee, Pompey, and consent to thy request. But Romans, have regard, lest overreaching in offence again, I load your shoulders with a double pain. Ah, But Pompey, see where jolly Carbo comes, footing it featly like a mighty man. What no obeisance, sirrah, to your lord?
My lord, no, Sylla. He that thrice hath borne the name of consul scorns to stoop to him whose heart doth hammer naught but mutinies.
And doth your lordship then disdain to stoop?
Aye, to mine equal, Pompey, as thou art.
Thine equal, villain? No, he is my friend. Thou, but a poor anatomy of bones cased in a knavish, tawny, withered skin. Wilt thou not stoop? Art thou so stately, then?
Sylla, I honour gods, not foolish men.
Then break that withered bough that will not bend. Soldiers, cast him down before my feet. Now, prating sir, my foot upon thy neck, I'll be so bold to give your lordship check. Believe me, soldiers, but I overreach. Old Carbo's neck at first was made to stretch.
Though body bend, thou tyrant most unkind, yet never shall thou humble Carbo's mind.
Oh, sir, I know for all your warlike pith, a man may mar your worship with a withe. You, sirrah, levied arms to do me wrong. You brought your legions to the gates of Rome. You fought it out in hope that I would faint. But sirrah, now betake you to your books. Entreat the gods to save your sinful soul, for why this carcass must in my behalf go feast the ravens that serve our augur's turn. Methinks I see already how they wish to bait their beaks in such a jolly dish.
Sylla, thy threats and scoffs amate me not. I prithee, let thy murderers hale me hence. For Carbo rather likes to die by sword than live to be a mocking stool to thee.
The man hath haste. Good soldiers, take him hence. It would be good to alter his pretense, but be advised that when the fool is slain, you part the head and body both in twain. I know that Carbo longs to know the cause, and shall. Thy body for the ravens, thy head for daws.
O matchless ruler of our capital, behold poor Rome with grave and piteous eye, fulfilled with wrong and wretched tyranny.
Tut, the proud man's prayer will never pierce the sky. But whither press these mincing senators?
We press with prayers, we come with mournful tears, entreating Sylla by those holy bands that link fair Juno with her thundering Jove, even by the bonds of hospitality, to pity Rome afflicted through thy wrath. Thy soldiers, Sylla, murder innocents. Oh, whither will thy lawless fury stretch if little ruth ensures thy country's harms?
Gay words, Norbanus, and full of eloquence, accompanied with action and conceit. But I must teach thee judgment therewithal. Darest thou approach my presence, that hast borne thine arms in spite of Sylla and his friends? I tell thee, foolish man, thy judgment wanted in this presumptuous purpose that is past. And loitering scholar, since you fail in art, I'll learn you judgment shortly to your smart. Dispatch him, soldiers. I must see him die. And you, Carinna, Carbo's ancient friend, shall follow straight your headless general. And, Scipio, were it not I loved thee well, thou shouldst accompany these slaves to hell. But get you gone, and if you loved yourself.
Pardon me, Sylla. Pardon, gentle Sylla.
Sirrah, this gentle name was coined too late and shadowed in the shrouds of biting hate. Dispatch! Why, so. Good fortune to my friends. As for my foes, even such shall be their ends. Convey them hence. Metellus, gentle Metellus, fetch me Sertorius from Iberia. In doing so thou standest me instead, for sore I long to see the traitor's head.
I go, confirmed to conquer him by sword, or in the exploit to hazard life and all.
Now, Pompey, let me see. Those senators are dangerous stops of our pretended state, and must be curtailed lest they grow too proud. I do prescribe just 40 senators, which shall be leaders in my tragedy, and for our gentlemen are overproud, of them 1,600 die. A goodly army meet to conquer hell. Soldiers perform the course of my decree. Their friends my foes, their foes shall be my friends. Go sell their goods by trumpet at your wills. Meanwhile, Pompey shall see and Rome shall rue the miseries that shortly shall ensue.
Oh, endless course of needy men's avail! What silly thoughts, what simple policies make men presume upon this traitor's life! Have I not seen the depth of sorrow once, and then again have kissed the queen of chance? O Marius, thou, Tilitus, and thy friends, hast seen thy foe discomfited in fight, but now the stars have formed my final harms. My father Marius lately dead in Rome, my foe with honour doth triumph in Rome. My friends are dead and banished from Rome. I, Marius, father, friends, more blessed than thee. They dead, I live. I thralled, they are free. Here in Praenestem I cooped up, amongst a troop of hunger-starved men, set to prevent false Sylla's fierce approach, but now exempted both of life and all. Well, fortune, since thy fleeting change hath cast poor Marius from his hopes and true desires, my resolution shall exceed thy power. Thy coloured wings, steeped in purple blood, thy blinding wrath, disdained in purple blood, thy royal robes washed in my purple blood, shall witness to the world thy thirst of blood. And when the tyrant Sylla shall expect to see the son of Marius stooped to fear, then, then my mind shall well appear, that scorn my life and hold mine honour dear. Hark! How these murderous Romans, viper-like, seek to bewray their fellow citizens! O wretched world, from whence with speedy flight true love, true zeal, true honour late is fled!
What makes my lord so careless and secure to leave the breach and here lament alone?
Not fear, my friend, for I could never fly, but study how with honour for to die. I pray thee, call the chiefest citizens. I must advise them in a weighty cause. Here shall they meet me, and, until they come, I will go view the danger of the breach.
Say, Tuditanus, didst thou ever see so desperate defence as this hath been?
As in Numidia tigers wanting food, or as in Libya lions full of ire, so fare these Romans on Praeneste walls.
Their valour, Tuditanus, and resist the manlike fight of younger Marius makes me amazed to see their miseries, and pity them, although they be my foes. What? Said I? Foes? O Rome, with ruth I see thy state consumed through folly and dissension. Well, sound a parley, I will see if words can make them yield which will not fly for strokes.
What seeks this Roman warrior at our hands?
That seeks he, Marius, that he wisheth thee an humble heart and then a happy peace. Thou seest thy fortunes are depressed and down, thy victuals spent, thy soldiers weak with want, the breach laid open, ready to assault. Now, Since thy means and maintenance are done, yield, Marius, yield. Pray, Nestians, be advised. Lucretius is advised to favour you. I pray thee, Marius, mark my last advice. Relent in time, let Sylla be thy friend, so thou in Rome mayst lead a happy life, and those with thee shall pray for Marius still.
Lucretius, I consider on thy words. Stay there a while, thou shalt have an answer straight.
Apollo grant that my persuasions may preserve these Roman soldiers from the sword.
My friends and citizens of Praeneste town, you see the wayward working of our stars. Our hearts confirmed to fight, our victuals spent. If we submit, its Sylla must remit. A tyrant, traitor, enemy to Rome, whose heart is guarded still with bloody thoughts. These flattering vows Lucretius here avows are pleasing words to colour poisoned thoughts. What? Will you live with shame or die with fame?
A famous death, my lord, delights us most.
We of thy faction, Marius, are resolved to follow thee in life and death together.
Words full of worth, beseeming noble minds, the very balsamum to mend my woes. Oh, countrymen, you see Campania spoiled, a tyrant threatening mutinies in Rome, a world despoiled of virtue, faith, and trust. If then no peace, no liberty, no faith, conclude with me, and let it be no life. Live not to see your tender infants slain, these stately towers made level with the land, this body mangled by our enemy's sword, but full resolve to do as Marius does. Unsheath your poniards, and let every friend bethink him of a soldier-like farewell. Sirrah, display my standard on the walls, and I will answer yond Lucretius, who loveth Marius, now must die with Marius.
What answer will your lordship then return us?
Lucretius, we that know what Sylla is, how dissolute, how throttless, and corrupt, in brief conclude to die before we yield. But so to die, Lucretius, mark me well, as loth to see the fury of our swords should murder friends and Roman citizens. Fie, countrymen! What fury doth infect your warlike bosom, that were wont to fight with foreign foes, not with Campanian friends? Now, unadvised youth must counsel eld, for governance is banished out of Rome. Woe to that boar from whence these blooms are sprung. Woe to that Aetna vomiting this fire. Woe to that brand consuming country's weal. Woe to that Sylla, careless and secure, that gapes with murder for a monarchy. Go, second Brutus, with a Roman mind, and kill that tyrant. And for Marius' sake, pity the guiltless wives of these your friends. Preserve their weeping infants from the sword, whose fathers seal their honours with their bloods. Farewell, Lucretius. First I press in place to let see a constant Roman die. Praenestian, lo, a wound, a fatal wound, the pain but small, the glory passing great. Praenestians, see a second stroke. Why, so! I feel the dripping dimness of the night closing the coverts of my careful eyes. Follow me, friends, for Marius now must die with fame, in spite of Sylla's tyranny.
We follow thee, our chieftain, even in death. Our town is thine, Lucretius, but we pray for mercy for our children and our wives.
Oh, save my son, Lucretius. Let him live.
A wondrous and bewitched conspiracy. which constancy in beseeming Marius' pride and haughty mind. Come, let us charge the breach. The town is ours, both male and female. Put them to the sword, so please you, Sylla, and fulfill his word. Now, Romans, we have brought Praeneste low, and Marius sleeps amidst the dead at last. So then, to Rome, my countrymen, with joy where Sylla waits the tidings of our fight, whose prisoners that are taken see forthwith with warlike javelins you put them to death. Come, let us march. See Rome in sight, my hearts, where Sylla waits the tidings of our war.
Sylla! Sylla!
Sylla!
Romans, you know, and to your griefs have seen a world of troubles hatched here at home, which, through prevention being well nigh crossed by worthy Sylla and his warlike band, I, consul, with these fathers, think it meet to fortify our peace and city's weal, to name some man of worth that may supply dictator's power and place, whose majesty shall cross the courage of rebellious minds. What think you, Romans? Will you condescend?
Nay, Flaccus, for their profits they must yield. For men of mean condition and conceit must humble their opinions to their lords. And if my friends and citizens consent, since I am born to manage mighty things, I will, though loath, both rule and govern them. I speak not this as though I wish to reign, but for to know my friends. Yet again, I merit, Romans, far more grace than this.
Countrymen, if Sylla's power and mind, if Sylla's virtue, courage, and device, if Sylla's friends and fortunes merit fame, none then but he should bear dictator's name.
What think you, citizens? Why stand ye mute? Shall Sylla be dictator here in Rome?
By full consent, Sylla shall be dictator.
Then, in the name of Rome, I here present the rods and axes into Sylla's hand, and fortunate prove Sylla our dictator.
My fortunes, Flaccus, cannot be impeached. For at my birth the planets, passing kind, could entertain no retrograde aspects. And that I may with kindness quite their love, my countrymen, I will prevent the cause 'gainst all the false encounters of mishap. You name me your dictator, but prefix no time, no course, but give me leave to rule, and yet exempt me not from your revenge. Thus, by your pleasures being set aloft, straight by your furies I should quickly fall. No, citizens, who readeth Sylla's mind must form my titles in another kind. Either let Sylla be dictator ever, or flatter Sylla with these titles never.
Perpetual be thy glory and renown. Perpetual Lord Dictator shalt thou be.
Hereto the Senate frankly doth agree.
Then so shall Sylla reign, you senators. Then so shall Sylla rule, you citizens. As senators and citizens that please me shall be my friends. The rest cannot disease me. But see, whereas Lucretius is returned. Welcome, brave Roman. Where is Marius? Are these Praenestians put unto the sword?
The city noble Sylla razed is, and Marius dead, not by our swords, my lord, but with more constancy than Cato died.
What? Constancy? And but a very boy? Why then I see he was his father's son. But let us have this constancy described.
After our fierce assaults and their resist, our siege, their sallying out to stop our trench, labour and hunger reigning in the town, the younger Marius on the city's walls vouchsafed and interparley at the last, wherein with constancy and courage too he boldly armed his friends, himself to death, and spreading of his colours on the wall, for answer said he could not brook to yield or trust a tyrant such as Sylla was.
What did the brain-sick boy upbraid me so? But let us hear the rest, Lucretius.
And after great persuasions to his friends, and worthy resolution of them all, he first did sheath his poniard in his breast, and so, in order, died all the rest.
Now by my sword this was a worthy jest. Yet, silly boy, I needs must pity thee, whose noble mind could never mated be. Believe me, countrymen, a sudden thought, a sudden change in Sylla now hath wrought. Old Marius and his son were men of name, nor fortune's laughs nor lowers their minds could tame. And when I count their fortunes that are past, I see that death confirmed their fames at last. Then he that seeks to manage mighty things amidst his triumph gains a troubled mind. The greatest hope, the greatest harm it brings. Poor men in content their glory find. If then content be such a pleasant thing, why leave I country life to be a king? Yet kings are gods, and make the proudest stoop. Yea, but themselves are still pursued with hate. Men were made to mount and then to droop. Such chances wait upon uncertain fate, that where she kisseth once, she quelleth twice. Then whoso lives content is happy, wise. What motion moveth this philosophy? O Sylla, see the ocean ebbs and flows. The springtime wanes when winter draweth nigh. Aye, these are true, most assured notes. In constant chance such tickle turns has lent, as whoso fears no fall must seek content.
Whilst graver thoughts of honour should allure thee, what maketh Sylla muse and mutter thus?
I, that have passed amidst the mighty troops of armed legions through a world of war, do now bethink me, Flaccus, of my chance. How I alone, when many men were slain, in spite of state am come to Rome again. Though I wield the reverend styles of state, she, Sylla, with a beck, could break my neck. What lord of Rome hath dared as much as I? Yet, Flaccus, knowst thou not that I must die? The labouring sisters on the weary looms have drawn my web of life at length, I know. Men of wit must think upon their tombs. For beasts with careless steps to Lethe go, where men whose thoughts and honours climb on high, living with fame, must learn with fame to die.
What lets my lord, in governing this state, to live in rest, and die with honour too?
What lets me, Pompey? Why, my courteous friend, can he remain secure that wields a charge, or think of wit when flatterers do commend, or be advised that careless runs at large? No, Pompey, honey words make foolish minds, and power the greatest wit with error, blinds. Flaccus, I murdered Antony, thy friend. Romans, some here have lost at my command their fathers, mothers, brothers, and allies. Think you, Sylla, thinking these misdeeds, bethinks not on your grudges and mislike? Yes, countrymen, I bear them still in mind. Then, Pompey, were I not a silly man to leave my rule and trust these Romans then?
Your grace hath small occasions of mistrust, nor seek these citizens for your disclaim.
But, Pompey, now these reaching plumes of pride that mounted up my fortunes to the clouds by grave conceits shall straight be laid aside. Sylla thinks of far more simple shrouds. For having tried occasion in the throne, I'll see if she dare frown when state is gone. Lo, senators, the man that sat aloft now deigns to give inferiors highest place. Lo, here, the man whom Rome repined oft, a private man, content to brook disgrace. Romans, lo, here, the axes, rods, and all, I'll master fortune lest she make me thrall. Now whoso list accuse me, tell my wrongs, upbraid me in the presence of this state. Is none these jolly citizens among that will accuse or say I am ingrate? Then will I say and boldly boast my chances, that naught may force the man whom fate advances.
What meaneth Sylla in this sudden mood, to leave his titles on the sudden thus?
Consul, I mean with calm and quiet mind to pass my days till happy death I find.
What greater wrong than leave thy country so?
Both it and life must Sylla leave in time.
Yet during life have care of Rome and us.
O wanton world that flatterest in thy prime and breathest balm and poison mixed in one! See how these wavering Romans wished my reign that whilom fought and sought to have me slain. My countrymen, this city wants no store of fathers' warriors to supply my room. So grant me peace, and I will die for Rome.
These are very indiscreet counsels, neighbour Pompey, and I will follow your misadvisement.
I tell you, good man Curtall, the wrench half wrong. Oh, vain world, oh, foolish man, could a man in nature cast a wench down and disdain in nature to lift her up again? Could he take away her dishonesty without bouncing up the bands of matrimony? Oh, learned poet, well didst thou write fustian verse. These maids are daws that go to the laws, and a babe in the belly.
Tut, man, 'tis the way the world must follow, for maids must be kind, good husbands to find.
But mark the first, if they swell before, it will grieve them sore. But see, yon's Master Sylla, faith a pretty fellow he is, all.
What seek my countrymen? What would my friends?
Nay, sir, your kind words shall not serve the turn. Why, think you to thrust your soldiers into our kindred with your courtesies, sir?
I tell you, Master Sylla, my neighbor will have the law. He had the right, he will have the wrong, and therein dwells the law.
What desire these men of Rome?
Neighbour, sharpen the edge tool of your wits against the whetstone of indiscretion, that your words may shine like the razors of Palermo. You have learning with ignorance, therefore speak my tale.
Then, worshipful Master Sylla, be it known unto you that my neighbor's daughter, Dorothy, was a maid of restority, fair, fresh, and fine, as merry as a cup of wine. Her eyes like two poached eggs, great and goodly her legs. But mark my doleful ditty, alas, for woe and pity, a soldier of yours upon a bed of flowers gave her such a fall as she lost maidenhead and all, and thus in very good time I end my rueful rhyme.
And what of this, my friend? Why seek you me, who have resigned my titles and my state, to live a private life as you do now? Go move the consul Flaccus in this cause, who now hath power to execute the laws.
And are you no more Master Dixcator, nor generality of the soldiers?
My powers do cease, my titles are resigned.
Have you signed your titles? Oh, base mind, that being in the Paul's steeple of honour, hath cast thyself into the sink of simplicity. Fie, beast! Were I a king, I would day by day suck up white bread and milk, and go a-jetting in a jacket of silk. My meat should be the curds, my drink should be the whey, and I would have a mincing lass to love me every day.
Nay, goodman Curtall, your discretions are very simple. Let me cramp him with a reason. Sylla, whether it is better good ale or small beer. Alas, see his simplicity cannot answer me. Why, I say ale.
And so say I, neighbour.
Thou hast reason. Ergo say I, 'tis better to be a king than a clown. Faith, Master Sylla, I hope a man may now call ye knave by authority.
With what impatience hear I these upbraids that whilom plagued the least offence with death? Oh, Sylla, these are stales of destiny by some upbraids to try thy constancy. My friends, these scorns of yours perhaps may move the next dictator shun to yield his state, for fear he find as much as Sylla doth. But Flaccus, to prevent their farther wrong, vouchsafe some lictor may attach the man, and do them right that thus complain abuse.
Sylla, go you and bring the soldier that hath so loosely leaned to lawless lust. We will have means sufficient, be assured, to cool his heat and make the wanton chaste.
We thank you, mastership. Come, neighbour, let us jog. Faith, this news will set my daughter Dorothy agog.
Grave senators and Romans, now you see the humble bent of Sylla's changed mind. Now will I leave you, lords, from courtly train to dwell content amidst my country cave, where no ambitious humours shall approach the quiet silence of my happy sleep, where no delicious jouissance or toys shall tickle with delight my tempered ears, but wearying out the lingering day with toil, tiring my veins and furrowing of my soil, the silent night with slumber stealing on shall lock these careful closets of mine eyes. Oh, had I known the height of happiness, or bent mine eyes upon my mother earth, long since, O Rome, had Sylla with rejoice forsaken arms to lead a private life.
But in this humbleness of mind, my lord, whereas experience proved and art do meet, how happy were these fair Italian fields if they were graced with so sweet a son? Then I for Rome, and Rome with me, requires that Sylla will abide and govern Rome.
O Flaccus, if the Arabian phoenix strive by nature's warning to renew her kind, when soaring nigh the glorious eye of heaven, she from her cinders doth revive her sex, why should not Sylla learn by her to die, that erst have been the phoenix of this land, and drawing near the sunshine of content, perish obscure to make your glories grow? For as the higher trees do shield the shrubs from posting Phlegon's warmth and breathing fire, so mighty men obscure each other's fame, and make the best deservers fortune's game. But what sudden furies do affright? What avaricious fantasies are these? Oh, let me rest, my lords, for why methinks some fatal spells are sounded in mine ears.
Subsequetur tuamus, privari lumine Syllum, numina pacurum jam fera precipiunt fera jam pacurum numina Syllum, numeri privaremus tua subsequetur, Elysium petis o felix se fatidici astri, precious heruas o petis innumeros petis o heruas, precious astri, fadici e felix o petis Elysium.
Ergo nepos dulces annos properantia fata, ergo ne iam tenebrae premia lucis erunt. At tamen, ut vitae fortunam gloria mortis vincat, in extremo funere cantent olor.
Pompey, our lord requires your assistance. How fares my lord? What dreadful thoughts are these? What doubtful answers on a sudden thus?
Pompey, the man that made the world to stoop and fettered fortune in the chains of power, must droop and draw the chariot of fate along the darksome banks of Acheron. The heavens have warned me of my present fall. O call Cornelia forth, let Sylla see his daughter Fulvia ere his eyes be shut.
Why, Sylla, where is now thy wonted hope? In greatest hazard of unstayed chance, what shall a little biting blast of pain blemish the blossoms of thy wonted pride?
My Flaccus, worldly joys and pleasures fade. In constant time, like to the fleeting tide, with endless course man's hopes doth overbear. Naught now remains that Sylla fain would have, but lasting fame when body lies in grave.
How fares my lord? How doth my gentle Sylla?
Ah, my Cornelia, passing happy now, free from the world, allied unto the heavens, not curious of uncertain chances now.
Words full of woe, still adding to my grief, a cureless cross of many hundred harms. Oh, let not Rome and poor Cornelia lose, the one her friend, the other her delight.
Cornelia, man hath power, by some instinct and gracious revolution of the stars, to conquer kingdoms, not to master fate. For when the course of mortal life is run, then Clotho ends the web her sister spun. Pompey, Lord Flaccus, fellow senators, in that I feel the faithful dews of death steeping mine eyes within their chilly wet, the care I have of wife and daughter both must on your wisdom happily rely. With equal distribution see you part my lands and goods betwixt these lovely twain. Only bestow 100,000 sesterces upon my friends and fellow soldiers. Thus, having made my final testament, come, Fulvia, let thy father lay his head upon thy lovely bosom, and entreat a virtuous boon and favour at thy hands. Fair Roman maid, see that thou wed thy fairness to modest, virtuous, and delightful thoughts. Let Rome in viewing thee behold thy sire. Honour Cornelia, from whose fruitful womb thy plenteous beauties sweetly did appear. And with this lesson, lovely maid, farewell.
Tedious and unhappy chance for me.
Content thee, Fulvia, for it needs must be. Cornelia, I must leave thee to the world, and by those loves that I have lent thee oft in mutual wedlock rights and happy war, remember Sylla in my Fulvia still. Consul, farewell. My Pompey, I must hence. Farewell, Rome. And fortune, now I bless thee, that in both life and death wouldst not oppress me.
Oh, hideous storms of never daunted fate. Now are those eyes whose sweet reflections cooled the smothered rancors of rebellious thoughts, clad with the sable mantles of the night. And like the tree that, robbed of sun and showers, mourns desolate without in leaf or sap, O poor Cordelia, late bereft of love, sits sighing, hapless, joyless, and forlorn.
Gone is the flower that did adorn our fields. Fled are those sweet reflections of delight. Dead is my father. Fulvia, dead is he in whom thy life, for whom thy death must be.
Ladies, to tire the time in restless moan were tedious unto friends and nature too. Sufficeth you that Sylla so is dead, as fame shall sing his power, though life be fled.
And to conclude his happiness, my lords, determined where shall be his funeral.
Even there where other nobles are interred.
Why, Lepidus, what Roman ever was that merited so high a name as he, then why with simple pomp and funeral would you entomb so rare a paragon?
An urn of gold shall hem his ashes in. The Vestal virgins with their holy notes shall sing his famous, though too fatal death. I and my Fulvia with dispersed hair will wait upon this noble Roman's hearse.
And Fulvia, clad in black and mournful pall, will wait upon her father's funeral.
Come, bear we hence this trophy of renown, whose life, whose death was far from fortune's frown.
And off they go to have a jolly old funeral. Okay, we've come to the end of that. Interesting. It has resolved some of the problems that we had last time. It hasn't resolved all of them. I think still the production needs to turn around Sylla's sudden position shift. And then the sort of random clowning doesn't land awfully well there at that moment. But having this idea that everybody has this sudden onset death thing going on, that maybe it's more that Sylla, if we move the genius slightly earlier, so that actually it's not so much a turnaround of suddenly having this idea of no, I must retire, or maybe it's just an intimation of mortality. And then that might work to just make that ending land slightly better. But a lot of the objections I had about some of that, because we were talking about why is everyone feeling sad about him dying? And of course, well, they're all his factions, so it actually makes perfect sense that everybody's there being sad. Francis?
Yeah, I also, when I was reading Pompey, it occurred to me, particularly when Pompey was saying, don't, no, we want you to be dictating, don't give up your crown, mate. I was thinking, Pompey's going to be worried that, there might be some other faction waiting in the wings with their knives ready to do him in.
Yeah, I mean, we've got no idea what the political situation outside of this room currently is, actually. And if he falls, I mean, okay, we can look into history and know what happens. But actually, as far as these people are concerned, they don't know what comes next. So there is still something interesting there. I do still think that ending needs some massaging, but it definitely landed better this time round than it did last time. Which was reassuring, because I remember last time we went, oh, the opening's so good, oh, we're really enjoying this, and then random stuff happens, and it's still a bit random, but it does feel more massageable than last time. Alan?
Yeah, I must admit, I think the two burglars, or burglars as they're described at one point in the script, I think that sequence just needs to go. I don't think it does anything other than fill time. I think you may be right that if the genius appeared slightly earlier, it would give more plausibility to Sylla's change of heart. It still feels messy. I mean, I have my doubts slightly about the clown role of Antony's yokel servant, but that does have a point, because effectively it explains that he's so ratted that he betrays him.
Well, yeah, and when I was doing it, though I don't think it quite came across there, but I was thinking just on the principle that he's not a clown, he's just pissed. And actually there's something very tragic about that. I don't think I actually did it quite right. But that idea that he's trying not to tell them things, and he's actually genuinely concerned about what happens to his master, but he's so suggestible that it all goes wrong. I agree that some of the clown stuff is a bit, his versifying goes on for a while, but if it's made clear that it's more he's trying to distract from where his master is, then actually I think that can land. But you're right, that second series of the two comedy characters coming towards the end, there is a point to them, but it just feels so random. Lynn.
Yeah, I'm not objective because I had so much fun doing that
Yeah.
scene with Helen. But yeah, there is a point. I think I might be rationalizing, because the way that they basically say, why would you give that up? Why would you not be king? So it kind of complicates that choice for him, or maybe it's speaking what we assume the audience is speaking. It's like, why would you give up power? That's really weird. But what does happen in the end is like, okay, Flaccus is consul now, so take your case to him. We are going to find that soldier out. We're going to have him marry the girl he impregnated. Justice will still be done. So maybe what it's saying is that the institutions function independent of who occupies them, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still room for manoeuvre to investigate it and see if it's I found the problem with it was actually I didn't really know what was going on. I don't think the scene itself explicates itself very well, because it's so colourful in its language, it's actually quite difficult to go. And what are they actually saying? I know it's supposed to be fun, but I'm not quite until the very end when it says go off and do the thing. I quite was understanding what was going on. Eric, then Helen, then Alan.
I was going to say that maybe one of the functions is that sort of to prove that Sylla has actually done this, rather than sort of going, he's just saying it, but he's actually going to try and come back to power very soon. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah.
Well, that ties into the problem we discussed last time, which is that sort of time problem as well. Like, that closing scene seems to actually go on for a long period of time. It needs sort of lighting cues and music, and actually he's been sitting in a corner doing nothing for ages, and everybody's sort of running around him, and maybe there are more litigants coming through and stuff. Helen.
Yeah, I think the scene would be greatly improved with a pregnant Dorothy. That would make everything immediately apparent to the audience. And
a sheepish soldier standing upstage.
Well, possibly, but certainly a pregnant Dorothy would work. I mean, my problem with the whole play is, to an extent, that the author has got a chronicle history which is based on a political and moral system which is completely alien to him. And he's trying to make sense of it in early modern terms, which is where I think we run into all these problems.
In what way?
Well, I don't think I think he's trying to explain how the Roman state worked without totally understanding it himself, and yet putting it in early modern terms. I've said that before, haven't I? You want classic examples, and I haven't got any.
Well, I was just saying, but in terms of the way the play presents the action, what are the problems that are coming out from that makes the play not land, if that makes sense?
Well, there's all the lictors and the what an emperor, what a dictator is, what a consul is. Because a consul is not a lord, and a dictator is not a prince. And it doesn't, I feel it doesn't work, but I would need to take a couple of hours to sit down and work it out properly.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of the action and the factionalism and the sort of thrust of the play. I mean, is that a structural problem where you're sitting there? I don't know why these things are happening, or is it just that?
No. The factionalism. It's not the factionalism. It's the. I suppose it's the detail. The strange assumptions about what is good and what is bad, and what rank is in Rome, because it's sort of somewhere between nothing and something.
Alan.
Yeah, I must admit, I was wondering when we hit the rustics or comics or whatever we want to call them. I was actually wondering, because I'd forgotten what happened on when we did the first look on this a while ago, was whether in fact this was a front of tabs number while they did a big setup, for the whole ensemble appearing on stage, but that's not how it worked, because of course a very large chunk of the ensemble have actually already disappeared to the bar, having died in a variety of horrible ways.
Yeah, it's more a closing in, that last scene.
Yeah.
Is where everything sort of focuses in, and are they real or is it all in his head?
And I must admit, I was wondering at one point whether I, as citizen, should have actually exited there, and effectively that sequence just done as a dialogue between Sylla and Pompey.
It's an interesting question actually, just actually how we empty the stage from what's a very public scene to and actually the dismay of everyone suddenly going, hang on, what's wrong with him? Because we don't really have particularly clear indications of where everybody goes, and that's something that in a space I think would be really good to play with, and maybe again add a benefit to this. Valentina.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing it more like from an audience point of view, because I already died twice by that point. I didn't actually mind that much the burglars coming in at the end. For me, what it did is it broke down the heaviness of the situation for a bit, and at the same time, it reminded me that there's a world outside. It's not just that, right? There's still citizens that will need somebody in power. That's what it did for me. The other thing is, I would love to see this done properly, because there's so much scope to play with. Who are you talking to? When are you addressing the Romans? When are you addressing just one another? What kind of public privacy are you displaying there? Which can be done on Zoom, but it's these, especially in the second part, for some reason, it hit me more today than it did last week. There's so much scope of just directing this one out to the Roman citizens, and then talking to your fellow consul over there, and there's so much to play with there. Yeah,
I'm still really, I have to say, the second half has landed a lot better than the first time around when we did it, when we had a lot of big questions about it. And yeah, I definitely feel at the moment that this is something that is very doable in that sense. It's not it doesn't kill the play. It just gives us a lot of production questions. Lynn.
Yeah, I want to kind of respond to Valentina saying that she likes the fact that it sort of brings in ordinary people to show that the stakes of the political conflicts filter all the way down. I like that too. And I really like Cornelia and Fulvia, who have such a limited amount of agency in what's going on. But I honestly feel like it's a structural weakness of this text that it takes it so long to get around to introducing women and servants and ordinary people into the story. It's not until 2/3 of the way, easily half of the way through the text, through the arc of the story, that we start to see these people who are kind of on the fringes of power. I just feel like it would be stronger if we mixed in some ordinary people and some female characters in the first half. But of course, that's not what we've got. So I don't know what to do about that. And I really see that as kind of a dramaturgical flaw.
Dan.
Being off stage for a lot of the second half, I was just really listening and seeing if I can follow the play by just listening, since obviously Zoom is limited in the way that Zoom is especially limited in this type of play. We've got a lot of long speeches, and it might be difficult to work out which characters on which side there. The three things that came to mind for me was that would be key to properly staging this on Zoom would be, first, I need to know what every character's intention is, who they're fighting for, and really hear it in the voices. I guess another thing would be that there's got to be a definite difference in energy when people are doing public speeches and private speeches. And I think tonality is the other thing that can add to that. Because otherwise, if you're speaking always in the same register with the same tone, in my opinion, I can't tell the difference of when you're doing public and private there. And so I think the three of them go hand in hand. I don't have a problem with the play structurally. I think there's a lot of beautiful poetic language. Of course, I'm not fussed about any kind of historical accuracy, given that this is a play. So that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, and I felt that with that question about what to, because I said at the beginning, Flaccus and Lucretius are all on Sylla's side, but at the very beginning, Flaccus is in the Senate saying, Marius, isn't he great? And and actually I sort of got to the end and I was going, he's sort of more a civil servant in the sense that he's there and he's just trying to stay in, doing his job regardless of who is in power. And actually he's not really on anybody's side in the same way as other people are. Potentially, at least. So the question of intention, whose side you're on, or if you're not, because Antony obviously wasn't really on anybody's side and vacillated back and forth, and Cinna's one hell of an opportunist at times as well. I think that huge amounts of stuff to negotiate there. Rachael, I think you've been waving for ages, and I've not gone to.
No, it was kind of in response to what Helen was saying that what Helen said kind of brought up this for me is that in the first half of the play we get these citizens, and then in the second half we've gotten these clown figures, and at first people are, it's kind of like a tavern scene. We have people drinking, and then at the end we have bandits talking to the guy who's I guess kind of made himself king. And it's like how this war has torn people apart morally, and that at the end you have I think that their bandits specifically is like even if they're it's a clown scene, it's important to show that there was laws before and now there's lawlessness, and it's so lawless that your average person, just not your average person, but your average lawless person can just go to a king and, say whatever they want to his face and be unafraid. And then also that Sylla doesn't have a son, he has a daughter, and he kind of has created himself by making himself dictator for life, has made himself like a king, and he's left no heir. And it's kind of where does the government go now? We were lawless before, but now we're even less than that, maybe. And it's this just slow dissolution. And I know there's two definite sides here, but I wonder if we go on, if there's not more factions that come up, like because Octavius does cling to the seat of consul, which has some power, and they're all fighting for these other powers, and it's even if they're under bigger banners, other people's banners, they might just be out for themselves and trying to get what they can get too.
Well, it was something we talked about in the first look, which doesn't really come across on Zoom, is of course, we have these seats of power where people start drawing swords, in places where you don't bring weapons, and that violation continues and gets worse as the play goes on, and we can't quite get that across in a stratified space, whereas in a single space, if you effectively have a primary set that's a Senate space, and that this space keeps getting taken over by different people, and you see that the what was in theory quite an ordered system at the beginning of the play is something that's much more disordered at the end, and is ruled by tyrants in various different forms. It creates all sorts of options. Helen.
Yeah. I think one of my problems is the confusion in me as to where Sylla is in all of this, because he starts off, he rejects the rule of law because the Senate decides that Marius will have the army and have the job, and Sylla by force tries to take that from him and goes into rebellion. He then, in the middle section, is very, very murdery. I mean, he's killing everybody he dislikes furiously. And Marius is the honorable sort who is decent to his wife and daughter and lets them go.
Amidst murdering people who are against him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he murders people, but not women and children. Anyway, then suddenly Sylla is this great hero and everybody's praising him. And I don't know, it seems very unbalanced. I suppose history is unbalanced.
But I don't think that's right. It's not that everybody is his faction who have power. And he again makes the same demonstrations of power. Nobody in that room is against him because all the people against him are quite dead. So I don't think. I mean, and that was the impression we got the first time around. I don't think that's what's actually is happening at the end of the play. The first time around, we were going, well, why should we care about him dying? Why should we feel any sympathy for him? And it's not that we necessarily should. It's that his faction, who are and his family. His family obviously are going to feel sorry for his death, and his faction are going to be really scared. But that doesn't actually make him a popular ruler by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I think that's still the problem of this medium for this play. Eric, then Rachael.
I was going to say that, well, kind of after Marius and young Marius have killed themselves, or well, one of them has died and the other has killed themselves, singular. It kind of doesn't leave anyone that the people would recognize as a leader, and also a very strong leader was considered. I'm guessing, someone who has the army on his side would be considerably, considered strong. So whether he was wise or not is very sort of different. I don't know. I guess that's aside from obviously the point that we made about his entire faction being in that room. It also kind of maybe pertains to who instead of electing somebody new basically and having another strive for power and imbalance, they would just basically give all the power to Sylla.
Rachael.
No, I wonder now, if we're not supposed to feel bad for Sylla in the end, but rather that him not having kids or whatever, and them all these politicians messing up the government, that we should be feeling bad for the people, because they have to live with all this fallout. I mean, they've just been torn into, I don't know, they're not mentioned so much in this, but the country has been Cornelia says it, that you're attacking everybody says it, that you're attacking Rome itself, and they're burning things and they're murdering people in the streets, and then at the end the guy who came out on top in the end is just dead and has left nothing. So it's oh no, is there going to be even more of this for the people?
Yeah, I mean, considering that Sylla's instrument, Lucretius, it basically just goes, kill everyone when he goes into the town. You have this noble sacrifice, and he just goes, yeah, tough, and goes in and kills everyone. I think in a production we can emphasize that outside world. We can build little things to give those little hints of those elements to help make it come alive. I'm not going to go around the room for final thoughts. If you have any final thoughts you'd like to throw out, because I've been around most people. I don't think I've spoken to Elizabeth yet, and I don't think I've Liza yet. Elizabeth, do you have anything you'd like to throw in at this stage?
Yeah, I was just listening like quite carefully to what everyone was saying about like the problems in the text. I think it's quite a cerebral play. I think it's very much about big questions about the concepts of governance, dictatorship, and power. I think the hold of the government and the nation, and the concept of the nation is really explored in the text. I really enjoyed the long speeches. I think I would really lap them up in sort of an amphitheater staging. And I enjoyed the second look immensely. I found the play to be quite engaging, despite the subject matter that might be a little bit stodgy for some people. I found it really engaging. I found it really gripping.
Liza, did you have anything to throw in? Obviously, you've been parachuted in to be our Patrick Troughton of Sylla's.
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed reading Sylla. What an amazing part. And the second soldier was fun too. I mean, the soldiers are fun. But yeah, jumping in the middle of the play, and I think I was at one of the first looks for this play. It was the day after the January 6th riots in Washington, D.C., which is my hometown. So it was, so I take everyone's point about the characters and their motivations being unclear, and it being unclear why everyone suddenly likes a person that just murdered an entire town. Lucretius has no consequences. Like, he just comes back and goes, I murdered those people you told me to murder, including the civilians. The only ones I didn't murder were the ones that killed themselves. And so it was like, yes, excellent, yes. But part of it, I mean, it all relates back in my mind to the title. So it isn't called Sylla and Marius. It's called The Wounds of Civil War. And there are a whole lot of suicides in this play, and a whole lot of, I perceive that I'm going to die, okay. But self-inflicted wounds are part of the metaphor of what Rome is doing to itself. That it's cutting away everything that might have protected it as Rome. So, yeah, I mean, in my mind, that's the way I make sense of it, but how to play that, how to play that metaphor on stage, I'm still turning that over.
Yeah, I mean, it is a shame, because it would be nice to have a sense of the journey of Sylla across the two sessions, but that will have to be for the future. Though it does also have another title, which is The True Tragedies of Marius and Sylla. So so it is actually also that. But Wounds of Civil War is a better title, I think. I think it has some lovely stuff to it. But yes, it's yeah, you're absolutely right. I'd totally forgotten that the first time round, when we first started reading the opening of it, when the Senate goes to shit, was at this very charged time, and it was suddenly just going, oh, this is really close, too close for comfort, and it was very charged, and that's possibly one of the reasons why I was so keen to come back to it and see if the ending could work. We were very unconvinced about the ending the first time round. We still have reservations, but I think the room on the whole is still more hopeful than not for its performability. Francis, do you have any final thoughts to throw in? I don't think you've necessarily said that much in this final closing chat around.
No, well, yeah, I do have final thoughts. I'm very much in two minds about this play. I really like it. I love it's very much my thing, this sort of political drama. So, and I love all the different factions, and I really enjoyed playing Pompey. and I really enjoyed playing whatever his name was, the one that began with F. I'm still very puzzled at the beginning of the play why some centres are going for Marius and some are going for Sylla, and I'm is it just cult of personality? I don't know. Maybe I need to go back and read it. There's a lot to enjoy in this play, and I quite like to be in a production of it. But like everybody else, the ending, I'm not quite sure what to make of all of that.
Okay, everyone else, I think, has had a crack of the whip, but you've last call for any final thoughts. Anyone want to throw in? Wave at me, otherwise I will close the session in a moment. Everyone's waving at the cat, so that's very confusing for me. Gratuitous cat action there. All that remains is thank all the wonderful performers for this run at Wounds of Civil War. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.
Silly boy, I must needs pity thee.